Last week we discussed up to what point? Yes, introduction. Then we discuss the. Shall we start or shall we wait another 5 minutes time? So altogether 10:31. 2 minutes. Yes. Yes. I'll summarize what I already discussed. Then last week we discussed started the discussion on theory of firm. Theory of firm. Firms represent the supply side of the market. Then we discuss the types of firms, organization generally, not only firms, generally all the organization in a mixed economy, market economy. We divided all the organization into two sectors, the private sector organizations and the public sector organization. When you take the private sector organization, again there are two subcategories, commercial versus non-commercial. Commercial, the profit-oriented companies, then the sole traders, partnerships, private limited, public limited companies, they are coming under commercial organizations that belong to private sector. Then next we have the non-commercial charities, clubs, societies. They are group of individuals, they organize and they have their own constitution. They engage in these activities, mainly social activities, right? Red Cross, Save the Children, the Lions Club, YMBA, YMCA, YMMA, all are coming under non-commercial. They are not the only the services. They are non-profit organizations, charities, clubs, societies. Then we come to the public sector. Public sector, because initially we divide that into public sector. Public sector organizations coming under central government and the public corporation. Central government, departments, armed forces, almost all the countries, the armed forces coming under the central government, under the control of supervision of management of the central government. Fire services, public services, they are called public goods. They are called pure public goods, right? Then the public corporation, semi-government, CPC, CB, Ports Authority, they are coming under the public corporation. Then types of organization, and after that we came to the firms. He said, not all organizations are firms. Firms consist of mainly three entities, the sections: workers, managers, and the owners. In some firms, the owners and the managers, family business. Say, for example, self-employed, the small boutique in the village. This is the owner and the manager and the worker. The single worker, same. All three coincides, right? Sometimes two coincides. Worker is there, the helper is there, employee is there, then the manager and the owner, same person. These are called the firms. Then we have divided firms, types of firms: sole trader, partnerships, companies. Sole trader, no problem. You get all the revenues and you bear all the responsibilities. If there are any losses, it is up to you. You have to suffer. Partnerships, again, the unlimited liability. Two or more people jointly pool their funds, some money, and run the business. That is partnerships, unlimited liability. Companies, well organized. They are permitted to do business in the country. And also there are sometimes they are called privileged groups. You can raise funds by issuing shares from the public, right? Primary share issues, you issue, and the secondary shares are traded. Then you can, accordingly, you can raise funds, capital can be formed. Then shareholders, if you buy shares of a company, you become a shareholder. Shareholders get the benefit of the ownership of shares, capital gain. You buy a share at 10 rupees, end of the year it went up to the 15 rupees, 5 rupees the capital gain. Then the dividend receipts and the what do you call, the bonus shares. Then now when in this theory, in this company, in this study the lesson, we said when you say theory of firm, could be anyone, it's all trader or partnership, we don't differentiate, right? Then the objective. Objective is a, generally there are so many objectives of a company, of a firm. Seek to higher market share, satisfactory return on capital, the ROC, efficient service, risk, minimize the risk, employment generation, and also then the profit maximization. Then we said profit maximization is the very reasonable and rational the objective of a company, right? Firm. Then we discussed the profit, two concepts, economic versus accounting. We discussed examples, what is more important concept is economic profit. If you can make economic profit, that company, that implies that company is performing well. Economic profit, you make your profit adjusted for the opportunity cost of all the factors of production. Therefore, economic profit is the key, not the accounting profit. Most of the P&L account, 100% of the companies in the world prepare accounting profit. Accounting, then they prepare a P&L account or the assets and liabilities P&L account. They use only the accounting concepts. And at the same time, they use a cash basis, not the accrual basis, cash basis, right? Not the receivable, payable are not considered. Generally, you can make some cases, it is accrual basis also you can calculate, but the cash basis mostly. And the accounting profit. Then we discuss cost definitions. We discuss example. Here there is an example. Understand this is a very interesting, and I got this from the LSE, London School of Economics. They are the study guide on economy, principles of economy. That's a very good, interesting example. Understand this simple example. Then profit maximization, two approaches, TRTC, MRMC. TRTC approach is just to understand, but the meaning of profits, meaning of revenue and the cost, how to determine the profit maximizing output. That is the key. In order to get a maximum profit, how many shirts should I produce? How many kilograms of the tea should we produce? How many the containers of garments, shirts should be produced, garments should be produced to get the maximum profit, break-even point, or not a break-even point, at the break-even point, revenue and the cost same, no? The profit is maximized. That is the TRMC, but mostly in this lesson we use MRMC approach. We discussed TRTC approach. One example, profit maximizing output was at 6. Then the MR, incremental increase in revenue when you increase the output by a very small amount, MR. Then MC, increase in cost when the output increased by 1 unit or the small amount. Because in this particular example, your output changes 1, 2, 3, 4. In between, you don't have. No? Therefore, we have increase in cost when you increase output by 1 unit. For example, 2 units cost 36. The first unit cost 25. Therefore, marginal cost of producing the second unit. 2 units 36. First unit 25. Second unit is 36 minus 25. 11. Then divided by 2 minus 1, MC. Then we discuss the decision, MRMC approach. Profit is maximized when MR equals MC. The production function. Using the production function is combine inputs and output. How shows the relationship between the formula or the mathematical relationship between, or the technical relationship between inputs and the outputs. Using men and machine, 4 people and 2 computers, company can produce 100 units maximum. That is the production function, relationship between inputs and outputs. The maximum output that can be produced from any given amount of input, that is called technically efficient output. Well, while we are talking, if you want to take down something or take down those terms, technically efficient out, maximum. Using 2 workers and 3 computers, maximum is 100. That is the technically efficient. If 2 workers and 3 computers, if they produce 80, technically inefficient output. Now you understand, you know the meaning of the technically efficient production function. Then the short run. In the short run, we said one of the factors of production fixed. We can say capital is fixed, but the labor is variable. Labor, you can hire any number of workers, but you have only fixed number of computers, fixed number of chairs, fixed number of the tables, capital goods fixed. But labor is a variable factor. Then in the short run, firm increase, if they want to increase the output, how do they do? By employing labor or capital or both? By employing only labor. Capital is fixed. Firm doesn't have any choice. Therefore, in the short run, firm increase the output by increasing only the changing the level of variable input. But in the long run, all are variables. No fixed factor. Firm can hire any number of workers. Firm can buy any number of computers. Firm can increase the factory size. Then firm can change even for the scope of the, what is the scope of the business? Scope of the business. Now the IBSL, Bankers Institution, they do the output is the banking educational service using the labor, capital, infrastructure, webcam, computers, their capital produce the educational service for the bankers, banking activities of banking, bankers or non-bankers, right? Educational service. Suppose IBSL decided to start a finance company. Then what will happen? You change the scope of the business. For example, Hemas. Earlier, Hemas or the Browns or some, also a long time ago, they were exporters, tea exporters, exporting companies. Right? Then now they have hospitals. They have changed the scope of the business. Even in the long run, you can change labor, you can change capital, you can change the scope of the business as well. Right? So any question, please stop me and ask the question. Right, cost of production, short run cost. Now because there is a fixed factor, there is a fixed cost. There is a fixed factor, there is a fixed cost. So in the short run, the period in which the firm cannot fully adjust. In the fixed factor, you have the fixed factors, therefore you have fixed cost. The short run cost will be different from its long run cost. Generally, short run cost is higher. That is interesting point to understand. To produce 100 units of the output, 100 shirts in the short run cost of producing 100 shirts, and long run, and there are no fixed factor, long run in the long run producing 100 shirts, which cost is higher. Short run cost of producing 100 shirts is higher than the long run cost of producing the 100 shirts in the long run. All variable, because in the short run you have constraints, you have some limitations. Capital is fixed, therefore your cost of achieving this target is, you have to make much effort, more cost. In the long run, you change so that you can produce the 100 shirts at a very low cost. Short run cost is higher than the long run cost. Last week I couldn't explain that. The short run cost will be different from its long run cost and must be higher. Underline that, right? That is very important. Then we'll discuss short run FC plus VC, fixed cost plus variable cost shape. We completed. I think I believe you did this exercise. The FC, VC, TC, MC you can calculate. Draw the MC curve, quantity versus marginal cost you can draw. Now these are the shapes of this cost curve. Fixed cost is fixed. Irrespective of the output, your fixed cost is fixed. Then you have the variable cost. Then you have the total cost. Right? That is fixed cost. What 11? Short run average. Now some misalignment is there. Now these lines should come here. TC divided by Q, FC divided by Q, VC divided by Q. In my presentation, it was all right when they upload this. Some shift is there. So AC average cost equal average fixed cost plus average variable cost. TC divided by Q. Excuse me. So you all are not asking questions all the time. I am talking. I am tired. Stop me and ask some question, right? Doesn't matter. Right, then the totals. Total cost equal fixed cost plus variable cost. Then if you divide TC by Q, you get average cost. FC by Q, you get average fixed cost. VC by Q, average variable cost. AC, average cost, AFC, and AVC. Okay. Now, short-term cost of production. I wanted you to complete this, AFC, AVC. Now, these are the shapes of this short-run average cost curves. AFC, AVC, AC, MC. Right, okay. Now, we will, I believe now this was the last point we discussed. Now, up to now, we have discussed mathematics. We calculate total cost, you calculate average cost, you calculate average fixed cost, average variable cost, you can plot. Now we are going to discuss the economic reasons, short-run cost. Economic explanation, why MC curve is U-shape? Why AC curve is U-shape? Why average variable cost U-shape? That means when you increase the output, for example, marginal cost decreases, come to the minimum and then increases. U-shape. Average cost decreases and then when output increases, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 100, decreases and then increases. So there we need economic explanation. How does the firm increase the output in the short run? By employing more labor, more variable factor. The firm cannot touch fixed factor. So when they employ more and more labor, so they can increase the output. Then what will happen? Marginal cost of the output decreases and then increases. So therefore, if you want to explain the U-shaped MC curve, now it is definitely, it should be something to do with the behavior of labor. Labor is, we change the level of labor. Therefore, shape of the MC curve should be related to, linked to the behavior of variable factor, that is labor in our example. Right. In general, the short-run average cost curves, AC, AVC, marginal cost curves are U-shaped. Economic explanation. In the short run, the firm has a fixed factor and the variable factor. Therefore, the shapes of the average and marginal cost curve should be related to the behavior of the variable factor. Because the fixed factor is fixed. To increase the output, you change the variable factor. Or the productivity of the variable factor. Productivity of the variable factor. What has happened to the labor productivity? People's productivity. Variable factor. How do we measure the productivity of the variable factor? How do you measure the productivity of the variable productivity of labor productivity? That is called the marginal product of labor. That's what is marginal product of labor? Marginal product of labor, again, this is some Now this should come delta Q divided by delta, change that. Delta Q divided by delta L should come here. If the variable factor is labor, the firm could increase the output by employing more and more variable factor. I explained that. Firm could increase the output by employing more and more variable factor, labor. Then marginal product of labor is defined as MPL equal delta Q over delta L. What is that? If the first worker contributes, let's assume, output is 10. When company hire another worker, 2 workers, let's assume 2 workers, both workers produce this the 12 units of the output. First worker 10, 2 workers 12. First worker 10, 2 workers 12. Therefore, marginal product of the second worker is 2. Because of the second worker, output has increased 2. Mathematically speaking, it is the change in output 12 minus 10. 12 minus 10 divided by change in labor 2 minus 1. Delta Q over delta L. Delta stands for change. Change in output divided by change in labor. The marginal product of the variable factor is the increase in output by adding 1 unit of the variable factor, holding constant the input of all other factors. Capital is fixed, no? So 3 computers. When you hire 1 more worker, by how much this worker adds to the total. So this productivity is a very important concept. Labor productivity. Countries, the economic growth rates. Why do different countries have different growth rates? Different growth rates. Growth rates explained using the change in productivity level linked to directly related to the productivity of labor, productivity of capital, or productivity of total factor productivity. So in Sri Lanka, if you take the Sri Lankan average worker productivity and the Japanese in Japan, average productivity of a Japanese worker, it's a huge difference. Maybe 1 to 30. If per day, a worker produces 1 unit of the output, Japanese worker will produce 30. Singapore and Sri Lanka. Labor productivities are different. Productivity differentials are the reasons for the different growth rates, having different growth rates in the different economies. Right? That is one of the key factors. There may be some other political reasons, the non-political reasons, people centered the reasons, right? People are not devoted, they are lazy, they want to just idling, and then they don't want to contribute, stay home, at home. You don't want to go to office. Some officers, some government officers, sometimes the people now is getting the free riders. You are getting the salary, you don't want to go to office. That's the nature of some of the Sri Lankan these people. That's very bad actually. You have to work. You have to go and work. That's very important, right? So the not all, some. Then the productivity differences is the key. Not only labor, in the capital productivity. Now, for example, here in Sri Lanka, stock of computers. Think about the stock of this the laptops, iPads, stock of this, and the stock of the IT related the instruments in other countries. But here in Sri Lanka, how do we use this? Just for word processing. Most of the majority of officers, are used for word processing. Productivity is very low. You have a large number of computers, but you don't do some idling. Some officers, for a whole day, the computer is there, nobody is working, he's on leave or it is idling, right? Huge investment has been done on this IT sector, on buying, purchasing the computers, but their productivity is very low because nobody is using. Very low productivity, right? So the productivity is the key. Now, for example, if you want to explain U-shape MC curve, you have to go behind that input marker. What has happened to the labor productivity when you employ more and more workers? What will happen to the productivity? First worker, second worker, third worker, fourth worker, fifth worker. Given company, firm hires. Given computers, given number of computers in the company, firm hires. First worker, second worker, third worker. When they hire, what will happen to the output of the last worker, marginal productivity of the last worker? Initially, it might go up. First worker, output. Second worker, slightly higher. Third worker, marginal productivity, slightly higher. Fourth worker, slightly higher. Then fifth, sixth, seventh, marginal productivity of decreases. So therefore, marginal productivity curve is inverted U shape, increases and decreases. Marginal cost curve decreases, increases. Marginal productivity curve increases and decreases. So therefore, the shape of this, the marginal product of the variable factor, define. Right. Now complete the above table. How do you complete now? Labor input. This is labor, not the output. Labor input. Now the output Q. Put that labor L, output Q. Then what will happen? MPL, marginal product of labor. First worker produces 0.8. Then what is marginal product of the first worker? You get the difference 1 minus 0 divided by, 0.8 minus 0 divided by 1 minus 0. 0.8. Marginal productivity of this first worker is 0.8. 0.8. Second worker. When the company hire another worker, two workers, both workers produce 1.8. First worker, 0.8. Then what is the marginal productivity of the MPL, marginal product of labor? Productivity of labor of the second worker, 1. How do you get that? 1.8 minus 0.8 divided by 2 minus 1. 1.8 minus 0.8, that is 1, divided by 2 minus 1. 1. Third worker. Now company has another worker. 3 workers. All 3 produce 3.1 kilograms of the output. First 2 workers, 1.8. Then what is the marginal product of labor of the third worker? 3.1 minus 1.8. 3.1 minus 1.8 divided by the 3 minus 2. 3.1 minus 1.8, that is 1.3. 1.3, right? That is the marginal product of the third worker. Like that, you can calculate. Complete the above table. Draw the total product and the marginal product of labor curves. This is MPL curve. You can draw this total product and the MPL. Total product is, I will go to this one, can calculate. Right. That example, if you calculate, total product curve is like this. Total product is labor input 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Total product. TP. TP curve is first worker, like that, increases, something like that. 0.8, 1.8, 3.1, total. Marginal product is this. Marginal product of labor is, I think it increases, something like that. Okay. Labor input, labor, MPL. MPL is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If you draw plot this curve, it will look like this. Third worker, and then it decreases. Something like that. MPL curve. Marginal product of labor curve increases. First worker, 0.8. Second worker, 1. Third worker, 1.3. Like that. Fourth worker, fifth worker, sixth worker, seventh worker, marginal productivity decrease. Now this is the shape of these two curves, MPL and APL. Right. Now what will happen? The shape of this MPL curve, generally This is the shape of the MPL curve. When you keep the constant, all the factors of production, fixed factors, 3 computers, and you hire workers, first worker, second worker, third worker, like that, fourth worker from higher, first worker 0.8, second worker marginal product 1, third worker 1.3, like that, marginal productivity increases, then decreases. This shape of this MPL curve, shape is explained by a law in the economics, fundamental law in economics, that is called the law of diminishing marginal product of labor. The law of diminishing marginal product of labor. There are another name for this one in the textbooks. They use there are 3 names. The law of diminishing marginal product of labor, or the law of diminishing returns. The law of diminishing returns. Some textbooks give the general name, the law of diminishing marginal product of variable factor. 3 names. Law of diminishing marginal product of variable factor, diminishing returns, diminishing marginal product of labor. Right? That is because of that, what is the law of diminishing marginal product of labor? When you change the level of variable factor, or when you add more and more variable factor to a given amount of fixed factors, the marginal product of this variable factor increases and then diminishes. That is the universal law, not only true for Sri Lanka, anywhere in the world. That's a very fundamental law in economics. The law of diminishing marginal product of variable factor. Law of diminishing marginal product of variable. Take one as example, a farmer, paddy cultivator, paddy farmer, right? So he has a plot of land, say the 20 acres. Then what will happen? When you add inputs and fertilizer, you add more and more fertilizer, first kilogram, second kilogram, third kilogram, fourth kilogram, then you calculate marginal product of fertilizer. Fixed land, what will happen? Marginal product of fertilizer, increases when you add more and more fertilizer, 100 kilogram, 200 kilogram, 300 kilograms. Definitely for a given fixed factor plot of land, marginal productivity, output of paddy diminishes of the last kilogram. So that is law of diminishing marginal product of fertilizer. Variable factor is fertilizer. That is another example, right? Like that. Now we go to this lesson, right? Now you can complete the homework question. Complete the above table. Calculate MPL. Draw the total product. I have drawn this one. You get a curve like that. Along the first table, you have to both graphs. X-axis labor 1 to 9. Y-axis in the first case it is the total product 0.8, 1.8, 3.1. You have to mark those things. Then the second graph below, marginal product. Then only you can see the shape of the MPL curve, shape of the marginal productivity of labor. Right. Okay. Now we'll come to this economics. MPL curve is generally a shape of this L versus MPL. Right. Now we discuss, you have the MPL curve. Now I have drawn both together. You have to put Q also, comma Q. X-axis put that L, not only L and Q both. L versus MPL, Q versus MC. This is just to explain. That it's very difficult to draw this different axis. LQ, MPL, MC. Now you can see, if you see the MC curve, Q versus MC, remember the first graph, we drew that MC decreases and then increases. So then the question was, we asked the question, why this MC curve, marginal cost curve is U-shaped? Then we went to the labor market, input market, and define a new concept, marginal product. marginal product of labor curve increases and then decreases. Now you can see the clear relationship between these two concepts. When MPL, last workers productivity, output increases, marginal cost decreases. With last worker produce more and add more and more to the output up to this point. Then MC curve decreases, marginal cost decreases. Marginal cost of production, output. Then last work adds less and less to the output. Obviously, that will happen because of the law of diminishing returns. When last work adds less and less to the output, marginal cost of producing this output increases. Now we have established the relationship between MC and MPL curve. Now before that, I want you to take down this here. I have not given this take down this. This one. The shape of the marginal product curve implies the shape of the short-run marginal cost curve. The shape of the marginal product curve implies the shape of the short-run marginal cost curve. When marginal product is rising, marginal costs are falling. When marginal product is falling, marginal costs are rising. Right? That is the relationship between input market and the output market. Labor market and the output market. Behavior of labor, marginal productivity of labor, and the cost of output, MPL and the marginal cost of the output. Right? There's a one-to-one relationship. Yeah. But I have not discussed on the long run. Yes. The take down this. The state the law of diminishing marginal product of labor. State the law of diminishing marginal product of labor. In other words, another name for this one, state the law of diminishing returns. State the law of diminishing marginal product of labor, or the diminishing returns, or the law of diminishing marginal product of variable factor. Three things. Diminishing marginal product of labor. Number two, diminishing returns. The law of diminishing returns. Third one, the law of diminishing marginal product of variable factor. Same thing, same law in different forms, different names, right? So the different textbooks use different names. Now the state and explain the law of diminishing marginal product of labor. I will briefly explain, but I want you to go through. The textbook can explain what is that. When you increase the level of variable factor, or when you increase the level of variable factor, the marginal product of this variable factor eventually diminishes. It increases. Up to a certain point, marginal product of labor increases, eventually diminishes. Eventually, very important term. Eventually diminishes. So it might increase, but obviously it decreases. Right? Eventually increases, eventually diminishes. Right? State and explain the law of diminishing marginal product of labor. Right. So marginal product curve is explained. Now we established. Initially we want to we ask the question, why this MC curve is U-shaped? Now we have answered that. Because MC curve is U-shaped, because the MPL curve is inverted U-shaped. MC curve is U-shaped because the MPL curve is inverted U-shaped. So that is the explanation. That is the explanation with the economics. Now we know economics. Marginal cost curve is U-shaped because of the behavior of the variable factor, changing behavior of the variable factor, behavior of the labor productivity. That is the economics part, right? Okay. Now we discuss long run. No, the short run, the output decision. Now, Initially, now we have not answered. No, we discussed only the why MC curve is U-shape. Now, same reason. Short-run MC curve is U-shape because of the law of diminishing returns. Short-run ABC curve is U-shape. Reason is the law of diminishing returns. Short-run MC curve U-shape, short-run AC curve U-shape, the law of diminishing returns, right? So therefore, it is the short run, shape of the short run cost curves are explained using the law of diminishing returns, right? Okay, that is now this graph. Something wrong with this graph. Some misalignment is there. I will explain that. I will redo it. Please take down that. MC should be this curve with MC. AC is above this curve, and ABC is this. This is a MR curve line. I'll draw that again. I'll draw it again. Please change accordingly. AC, AVC, MC, MR. Average cost, average variable cost, marginal cost, marginal revenue, right? I'll draw this AVC curve. Then we have AC curve. Now, gap between these two diminishes, right? Yeah. AC curve. AC curve. ABC. Then MC curve. MC curve got the minimum point of AC and the MC curves. AC and MC curve, right? AC and MC curve. Now, three cost curves. Marginal revenue curve. Last week we discussed, defined what is MR, what is the relationship between this shape of the MR curve. Generally, the MR curve is downward sloping curve. Take down this the graph. Take down this graph. Well, in the text, something wrong with AC, AVC, MC. That is MC. Take down that. U-shape AC curve, U-shape MC curve, U-shape AVC curve. Now we explain why this is U-shape. Law of diminishing returns. Why AVC curve is U-shape? Law of diminishing returns. AC curve is U-shape. Law of diminishing returns. In the long run, you are going to discuss different concept, economic concept, but the short run cost curves are explained by the law of diminishing marginal product of variable factor. The law of diminishing marginal product of variable factor, right? MR curve. Now, you have to decide what is the profit maximizing output. Profit maximizing output. This is one, no? I have drawn this curve. Now this don't use this diagram. This diagram is actually all misalignment with MRMC. I will draw it. You have the graph, right? Use this one, right? What is the profit maximizing condition? Profit is maximized where at the point where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. This is the profit maximizing condition. MR equals MC. What is this point? This point, red line, red point. MR equals MC. MR equals MC. That is the profit maximizing. That point indicate the profit maximizing output. Profit maximizing output. The profit maximizing output is indicated by this point. At this point, what will happen? This point, MR equals MC. Marginal revenue and the marginal cost same. This output level is called the profit maximizing output, Q star. Take down this profit maximizing output. So the profit maximizing output is shown by the point of intersection of MR and MC curves. Point of intersection of MR and MC curves. MR equals MC, right? Very simple model. MR equals MC. Take down that, right? Take down that. Then we'll go back to this the lesson. MR equals MC. Now, yes. Now we'll discuss this again. So marginal revenue equals marginal cost. Now even in your graph, you can change it accordingly. MR MC at this point. This is ABC curve below. ABC above curve, AC curve. Then this curve should be MC. MC should come here. MC should come here. Then you have the MC, AC, ABC, MR along the y-axis, right? Then Q star is here. Q star should come here. Then you can indicate that. So short run output decision. Cost curves, point of intersection of marginal revenue and the marginal cost curves. Gives the profit maximizing output. Profit maximizing output. Indicate the profit maximizing output of the firm. Right. We'll come to this point. The discussion on this profit maximizing output when we discuss the theory of markets. Now we move to the long run. Long run. Long run output. Now it's an interesting thing. I just want to discuss the another concept because this camera, webcam, this camera now the most of the institution is just to give an example to this movement of demand and supply forces. Now this what happened? Most of the institutions in Sri Lanka in the post the pandemic period, COVID period, started the online teaching, tuition masters, tuition classes. Then the universities, mostly private universities, then the government universities, IBSL, SIMA, almost all the institutions start using this online various packages. Now here in IBSL they are using Google Class, but in the universities they are using Zoom. Zoom, the another application, right? App. Different apps are there, but this camera. Huge demand for this camera. Now what happened is I also wanted to buy a camera because I am teaching taking Zoom session for the Colombo Uni. So the computer camera is not that powerful. Therefore I wanted to buy the camera. Then I spoke to the IT manager here. He said, sir, this camera is out of stock. You can't buy a camera. Why is that? Demand. Huge demand, supply, excess demand for cameras these days. Excess demand. Now you can understand excess demand. Supply is limited. demand is high, excess demand. So the you can't satisfy this excess demand. Now there are other restrictions. Even you can't airlift. You can't buy this, bring this from Singapore. No, the plane services. The airport is closed. Only thing is you can DHL. If you have a foreigner or the relatives in other countries, you can ask him to send me through DHL the camera, right? That it takes time sometimes, but it is excess demand for cameras. In the long run, what will happen? This is pure economics. In the long run, what will happen? Then I asked IT manager, what will happen to how long will it take to clear this excess demand, available this product? It's also, you can't say, why is that? There are import restriction these days. Most of the imports are restricted. You don't buy, cars are not imported, also non-essential, they think non-essential, luxuries. Stop importing these things. What happens is cameras also, even in the long run, you can't think of, until such time the government relax these import restrictions, you won't find the cameras in the market. Or else, another economic argument is, we know when there's excess demand, for a certain good, traders know you can sell this item at a higher price. Usually camera is 5,000, 8,000 at higher price, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. Sometimes there may be hoarding. Right now, we are talking about economics, right? Of economics of cameras, webcams, right? Today morning, I had to face this. I discussed this the situation with the IT manager of the IBSL, ITL personnel. Right, that is an example, pure economics, right? Now, again back to our lesson. Long run. The long run. What is the long run? How to define the long run? Remember? Yes. Long run cost. The long run is the period in which the firm can fully adjust to changing conditions. In the long run, all factors of productions are variable. I said labor variable. Company can hire any number of workers, any number of computers. They can change, hire any officers. They can increase their factory size, expand the factory size, or they can change the scope of the business. I use that example. Now the IBSL is at present, currently they are providing this educational service to the banking community. When the bankers and non-bankers the attending educational service sector, one of the institutions in the leading institutions in the banking education, right? Suppose, for example, if they decide next year, if they decide to start a new company, finance company, for example, then you change the scope of the business from education to financial, educational services to financial. So in the long run, anything can happen. Hemas and Browns, they were earlier engaging in export industry, the companies exporting things. Now they have health service, health sector. So they have moved to this scope of the business has changed. It depends, depending on the profitability. They are forecast, future projections. You can start the business, right? Earlier we said there's a huge demand for face mask or the ventilators domestically, right? Then the adjustable beds. So now the companies, Hemas or Browns, can observe these things, and accordingly they can start business, because the corona will be there. We have to live with corona according to WHO. We never know how long will it take to find out the vaccine. Until such time, you have to live with the corona. Then until such time, there will be huge demand for face masks, right, and the ventilators, right? Then long run is the period where all the factors of productions variables. The firm can hire any number of workers, any number of computers, and also it can change the scope of their business. That's why I said underline this. What is the scope of their business, right? So this was one of the questions in 2017 or 18 paper. what is the scope of the define, explain the scope of the business, right? Changing the scope of the business. With example, short question was there. As a result, firm's long run cost of production is given level of output would be less than that of the short run. That I given there. Short run cost of producing 100 shirts higher than the long run cost of producing the 100 shirts. Short run cost is higher than the long run cost. Long run cost is, in other words, long run cost is lower than the short run cost. You know, restrictions in the short run, there are some restrictions, constraint. Therefore, your cost will be higher, right? Then now I have a question. Let's discuss this. We are only very easy to handle this. Discuss this. We don't have average fixed cost. We don't have average variable cost separately. All average cost include in the average cost. We have only two cost curves, AC and MC. Other cost curves, no fixed cost, no average fixed cost, no variable cost, no average variable cost. All costs are variables. They have been included in our total cost. Right? So the shapes of this theoretically they are U-shaped. Theoretically, average cost decreases and then increases. Marginal cost decreases and then increases. Not only that, marginal cost curve cuts the minimum point of the AC curve. AC curve, marginal cost cut the minimum point of the MC curve. This is mathematics, right? Right. Like in the short run cost curve, now we are going to ask the question, why this long run AC curve is U-shaped? Why the long run MC curve is U-shaped? In the short run, we ask the same question. Why is that the short run MC U-shape, short run ABC U-shape, short run AC U-shape? We answered that question. Why is that? Because of the law of diminishing returns, law of diminishing marginal product of labor. But my question is, can we use that law of diminishing returns to explain the U-shape of the long run cost curves? I'll repeat it. Can we use the law of diminishing returns to explain the shape of the long run cost curves? Can or cannot? We cannot. Why that? Reason is, when you in the long run, when you in the short run cost curve, when you use the law of diminishing return, you assume one of the factors of production, at least one of the factors of production, fixed. On that assumption, we explain. On the basis of that assumption, we explain the shape of the short run cost curve. But here, all are variables. Labor variable, capital variable, factory size variable, scope of the business variable. Therefore, you can't use that law. We need another economic explanation, another law to explain the shape of the, even though they are U-shaped, you can't do the same law. That understand. Now we are going to discuss a new concept, economic concept. Why is that? We want to explain these long run cost curves. In general, the long run average cost curve, AC and the marginal cost curves are U-shaped. Economic explanation. Like in the short run case, we ask the economic explanation. In order to explain the shape of these curves, we introduce the concept of return to scale. There are three types of return to scale. Right? Well, why do we need this? Why can't we use the law of diminishing return? Because all factors are variable here. Therefore, we need a new explanation. That's why we introduce this concept, new concept. Increasing return to scale, IRS. Constant return to scale, CRS. Decreasing return to scale, DRS. Now, this is the concept. Before I explain these concepts, three concepts separately, I will ask a question from you. Let's assume formed as a firm using the four workers and 3 computers. They went capital, L and K. They produce 100 units. Can you see that? 4 workers, 3 computers produces 100 units. Suppose they double this. This goes to 8. This goes to 6. What will be the output? Understand my question? Using 4 workers and 3 computers, firm at the present, currently firm is producing 100 units. Suppose they double, 4 to 8, 3 to 6, what will be the output? Output doubles, if output doubles, it is 200. Double, output double. Output triples, 100 to 300, 100 to 200. Output increases to 150. Double, 2 times, triples, 1.5 times. Output doubles, input doubles, input doubles. Take down this. Take down. Understand my question? Firm, at present, a firm is producing 100 units of the output of an output. They are using 4 workers and 3 computers. Suppose firm doubles in the long run, they doubles. They can change all the factors of production. Labor doubles, capital also double, no fixed factor. Now my question, what will happen to the output? Anybody answer? Output doubles, triples, or 1.5 times? Can you answer? Yes? Can you anybody answer? Output doubles, 100 to 200. Triples, 100 to 300. 1.5 times, 100 to 150. What is your answer? Tell me, please. Yes? Can you answer? What will have the output? Yes? Tell me. One of you, can you answer? Well, I'm talking all the time. Can you answer? Output doubles when they increase out, when the input doubles, output doubles, output triples, or output the 1.5 times the initial output. What will happen? Yes? Yes? Tell me. What will have the output? Speak. Please. Please speak. Answer my question. Doesn't matter. It you can't get the correct answer. Yes? What is the answer? What will happen to the output? Krutika, what is your answer? Kitmini, what is your answer? Yes, Kitmini is there. What is your answer? Output doubles, triples, or 1.5 times? Yes? Doubles. Okay. Any other answers? Good. Thank you. Yes? Any other answers? Yes. This gentleman said it is doubles. Okay. Right. There is one possible answer. Yes. Now what happens? Anything is possible. Output can doubles or triples or 1.5 times. Why that? It depends. It depends. Right? It depends. If output doubles, double the input, we call it constant return to scale. CRS. If output triples, we call it increasing return to scale concept. If output 1.5 times the initial output, we say that decreasing return to scale. So now we have good idea about the meaning of return to scale, the concept of return to scale. I'll go back to this lesson. Please take down this one. Right. In order to explain the shape of this curve, we introduce the concept of return to scale. There are three types of return to scale. What is increasing? Proportionate increase in outputs higher than the proportionate increase in inputs. Input doubles, output triples. Constant return to scale, proportionate increase in outputs is equal to the proportionate increase in inputs. Input doubles, output doubles. Constant return to scale. Decrease in return to scale, input doubles, output increases, but not as much as increase in inputs. Output increased only by 1.5 times the initial output. Decrease in return to scale. So now this gentleman said output doubles. That's a possible answer, but we can't say, we are not sure. It depends on the company performance. It's an industry firm specific concept. Some companies, well run, efficient, very well run business companies, they can enjoy increase in return to scale. Some other companies, constant return to scale. Sometimes the public corporation, public department, public companies, CDB or railway, you can't say they are not very well run businesses. Sometimes there are some inefficient components, so therefore decrease in return to scale. When increase the, for example, let's say CDB, bus fleet is a capital. Labor fleet is the labor flow, labor force, and the bus fleet. Let's assume 10,000 workers and the 15,000 buses, 10,000, 15,000. When the CTV doubles, 10,000 to 20,000 workers, 15,000 to 30,000 buses. Output won't double. Output increases, but not as much as the doubling of inputs. 1.5 times, 1.3 times, because their decision-making processes are not that good. Long delays, time lags are there. They are not that efficient. But if you take a company like big company, common to MS, Brandix, then what will happen? When they double the inputs, output triples. Increase more than the increase in triples or 4 times, 5 times, definitely they can enjoy the increased return to scale. Well-run businesses can enjoy increased return to scale. In the world, now still people, the economists talk about the two industries that enjoys increased return to scale. Companies, firms in the telecommunication sector. Telecommunications still developing. The company, they can enjoy increased return to scale. Then the IT industry is also developing. Then they also can enjoy the increase in return to scale, right? Or robotic engineering, right? The artificial intelligence, the AI sectors, companies in those sectors can enjoy the increase in return to scale, right? So these are the some of the examples for just to understand. Now we define what is IRS, CRS and DRS. Then we discuss examples with examples. Some companies can enjoy increased return to scale. Some other companies decrease in return to scale. Some are same, constant return to scale, right? You know that it's a company specific, firm specific concept. Firm specific concept, right? So it depends. Managerial efficiency or managerial inefficiency or the timeliness of decision-making process, right? So the availability of the latest technology, technological know-how, latest technologies. So there are various reasons affects this the return to scale. What type of return to scale can be enjoyed by a particular company, right? Okay. Now we'll discuss Now we discuss, we know the concept. Now we are going to discuss. Now this is definition. Increase IRS definition. The proportionate increase in output exceeds the proportionate increase in input. Input doubles, output triples. IRS, constant return to scale. Proportionate increase in output same as the proportionate increase in inputs. Input doubles, output doubles. Input triples, output triples. Anyway, these proportionate increases are same. Decrease in return to scale, the proportionate increase in output less than the proportionate increase in inputs. Input doubles, but output only the 1.5 times. These are the things. Average cost. Now we are going to discuss the relationship between return to scale, the concept of return to scale, and the average cost. Now I just missed one point. Now this is increasing return to scale. Also, that's another name is used here. Take down within bracket. It is also called economies of scale. Economies of scale. IRS. Increase return to scale, also called economies of scale. BRS. Diseconomies of scale. Take down. Sometimes the examination they don't ask define IRS. Define, or they might say define economies of scale. What do you understand? What do you mean by increasing return to scale, or what do you mean by the economies of scale? Same thing. IRS, economies of scale. ERS, this economies of scale. CRS, we don't have a special name, constant return to scale, right? Yeah, take that. Yeah, that's it. IRS equals economies of scale. Sorry, DRS equals diseconomies of scale. IRS, economies of scale. DRS, diseconomies of scale. Diseconomies of scale. Right? Now we are going to establish the relationship between this. Average cost and the return to scale. What is average cost? Average cost, total cost divided by the output is the average cost. Total cost divided by the output. Average cost curve. Now, what is the relationship between this AC curve and the increase in return to scale? AC curve is U-shape. We know that. AC curve is U-shape. We drew that. There are two cost curves in the long run. Output versus AC. U-shape. Average cost generally, average when output increases, average cost decreases. When beyond this point, when output increases, further increase in output increase the average cost of production. Now we want to explain this relationship between AC and these things. Now I will first, before we explain this, that this is due to the IRS. IRS. This part, falling part of the AC curve is due to the increasing return to scale. When input doubles, in other words, when cost doubles, output increases more than the increase in inputs, increase in cost. Therefore, average cost decreases, increase in return to scale. This is due to the decreasing return to scale. increasing return to scale. IRS and DRS, right? Average cost decreases. Reason is increase in return to scale. Production process enjoys increase in return to scale. Average cost of production increases. What is the reason? Production process shows decreasing return to scale. This is the reason, right? Average cost. Now let's discuss mathematically. Let's understand what is average cost. Total cost divided by the output. Average cost. Total cost depends on wage cost WL plus interest cost. WL wage cost, capital cost, cost of capital RK divided by the output. Now, when there is an increase in return to scale, what will happen? Output increases more than the cost. Labor and capital increases. Cost increases. Labor capital doubles. Cost increases. Denominator doubles. But numerator increases more than that. Then what will happen? Average cost decreases. Understand? Average cost decreases. Denominator increases. When input doubles, cost doubles. But numerator increases. Numerator when input doubles, numerator doubles. But denominator more than doubles. More than doubles. So then as a result, average cost decreases. Average cost decreases. That is the IRS. Rising part of the AC curve. Rising part of the AC curve. Let's go back to AC is what? Average cost is total cost divided by the output. What is it? WL plus RK divided by the output. Now what will happen? Rising part. When input increases, this increases. But increase in output less than the increase in cost. Smaller than that. Then what will happen? Average cost increases. Now you know the reasons. Average cost increases. Average cost increases. Average cost increase. Now, falling part of the average cost curve is due to the increasing return to scale. Falling part you can take down. The falling part of the, I think I have given that falling part of the average cost curve is due to the increasing return to scale, IRS. Rising part of the average cost curve is due to the decreasing return to scale. Decreasing return to scale. Rising part. Suppose let's assume cost curve is this shape, for example. Another company has this shape average cost curve. Output, average cost. Let's assume, for example, some company decreases, constant. This is the behavior of the average cost curve. All three return to scale: IRS, CRS, DRS. Another company. Take another company, very efficient run business. Efficient company, average cost is continuously falling. IT company, telecommunication company, or the MS, Brandix, they enjoy increase in return to scale. Right? Then that's why I said you can't say, always you can't say by looking at the numbers, you can't say mathematically, you can't decide the what type of the return to scale a particular company can enjoy. It depends. It depends how efficiently this the firm is run, right? How efficiently they take the how efficient they take their decisions, how quickly they take their decisions. So that is the increase in it. These are the factors that contribute to the return to scale. For example, most of the IT companies, Virtusa. And generally, companies, you have different layers of management. Top management, then the top senior management is there, then the junior management. After that, you come to the programmers and the quality assurance, the people, right? But the decision making process, when you have the deal with the foreign clients, these quality assurance programming people directly discuss with the foreign clients. So you don't first you discuss this junior management or the senior management and the top management. No, they have the access to directly the communicate with the foreign clients. Of course, their managers may be present. Then other layers of manager representatives may be there, but directly they have this very transparent mechanism is there, very efficient. Then and then they take decisions. Efficiency, increasing return to scale, quick decisions, right? But the some other inefficient companies, another inefficient companies, when you send the file up, it takes long process. It takes the 2-3 weeks times to come back to the point where actual the action is initiated, right? So that is the problem, right? Inefficient decision making now these days. You know that the very famous now incidents is now there are some court cases, commissions are discussing now various top peoples are giving evidences. Now you can see how do they take decision. Highly inefficient decision the making process. You send the file, put a minute, send the file to another person. It won't come back. Get stuck. So inefficient and consequences were very bad, right? Now these are the things. Efficient decision making process is very important to achieve this decreasing return scale. Right? Okay. Now we know. Right. Now, what are the reasons for different return to scale? That is the question. Now we have for this, if the average cost curve for a particular company, it is not always this shape. Some companies only U shape. Some companies only falling. Some companies only upward sloping. Some all three return to scale. IRS, CRS, and ER, AC curve. Right. So the reasons for different return to scale. Reasons we discuss. Efficiency improvement, the improvement the efficiency in decision making process, technological introduction of new technology, the latest technical know-how to the company, right? So these some of the reasons. I want you to go through the relevant the textbooks. Any of the basic at the beginning I gave you some textbooks. Go through this under long run theory of firm, under long run return to scale. They have given the reasons for different return to scale. Take down some notes. Right? Reasons. So it's a quiz. It's a homework exercise. Assignments. So what are the reasons for different return to scale? I want you to go through and we just explain. We do discuss, but specific the answers are important. Right. Long run output decision. Long run output decision. Really, everything now even in the short run case we discuss shape of we define what is the short run total cost. We said fixed cost and the variable cost. Then there are about 4 cost curves: average cost, the variable cost, marginal cost, average fixed cost. Then we discuss why some of these cost curves are U-shape. MC curve is U-shape, ABC U-shape in the short run. Then we discuss the economic reason, the law of diminishing return, the law of diminishing returns. Then we ask the question, how does this firm in the short run determine the profit maximizing output? Then use the profit maximizing condition. What is the profit maximizing condition? Profit maximizing condition is the MR equals MC. Short run, remember, in the short run, go back to short run. I think I go with the diagram. The MR equals MC, the point of intersection of MR and MC curves indicate the profit maximizing output level. Then company is supposed to produce the output up to that point. Then only they can get the maximum profit. Now the long run. The firm's long run output decision. Draw this diagram, some shifts. There are some of these number shifts. Take down, please take down this. Output, average cost. Generally, AC, we take the general case. Specifically, some specific cases, you can have continuously falling AC, continuously rising AC, or all three as a false, constant, and increasing AC. No, here we general case, because then the MC curve is there. MC. Then you have the MR curve. Take down the MR. MR. Take down that. Take down that. U-shape AC, U-shape MC. MC cut the minimum point of the AC curve. Draw that. Or change your diagram accordingly. Now the profit maximum. What is the profit maximizing condition? Profit maximizing condition is MR equals MC. The point where output level where the marginal revenue equals marginal cost. The output level where MR equals MC indicate the profit maximizing output. Is the profit maximizing output? Is the profit maximizing output, right? Now, what is this point? MR equals MC. This point. This is the profit maximizing output to decide this. This point. This point MR equals MC. This point MR equals MC. So this is the profit maximizing output. Now the point MR equals MC, where the point where the MR curve cuts the marginal cost curve. Marginal cost curve. Understand? it down then. Right. So change this diagram accordingly. Right. Okay. The long run output decision, the firm's long run output decision. This is easy to analyze because we have only two cost curves, MC and AC. Then MR. This MR curve is generally MR curve is downward sloping, but some markets, for example, the perfect competitive curve. Next topic is the market structures. Perfectly competitive market structures, the MR curve is horizontal. Monopoly market, MR curve is downward sloping. MR curve is downward. This is generally I use this diagram just to explain the determination of how does a firm decide the profit maximizing output. A company, one firm, decide the profit maximizing output. Right? Okay. Okay. Now, as a summary, we can say first we discuss all the organization in an economy. Then we divide that into public versus private. Then we discuss the a firm, definition of a firm. What is a firm? How do you identify the firm? Who are the players, stakeholders of a company, of the firm? Workers are there, managers, and the owners are the stakeholders of a company. Firms can be self-employed, can be partnerships, can be companies. Companies has some special privileges. They can go to the share market and raise funds by issuing shares, by selling shares, or by issuing securities. They can raise the necessary financial resources to carry out their business, conduct their businesses, right? Okay. Then we asked a very important question: what is the basic objective of a company? The objective of a conceiver, we said, utility maximization. Objective of a company is the profit maximization. Take a company, firm, large number of objectives are there. Not only profit maximization, getting a very satisfactory return on investment, return on capital, or the increased market share expansion. Now, the big companies, Maersk, Brandix, sometimes they are competing just to expand the markets. Globally, they want to they have already moved to the global markets, right? So expand the market. Employment generation, another objective. Then the revenue maximization, another objective. Cost minimization, another objective. Profit maximization is, we said, profit maximization is a very reasonable and rational the assumption, right? That is the objective. And this theory of firm, we assume objective of a firm is to maximize the profit. Then we define different concept of profit, economic concept and the economic profit and the accounting profit. When we define that, we have to define what is economic cost and accounting cost. We discuss one example. After that, we discuss the the short run versus long run. In the short run, at least one of the factors of production fixed. Capital, computers. You have 3 computers. Labor is variable. You can hire any number of workers. When you start producing, you increase your output by changing only the variable input. In the long run, no restriction, all factors of production variable, all inputs variable. Then they ask the question, we define shapes of the TC curve, the FC curve, VC curve, then our AC curve, AVC curve, AFC curve, MC curve. We had 2 examples. Then we ask the question, why this MC curve is U-shaped? We introduce the concept of law of diminishing returns. Short run. We explain the shape of the short run cost curves. Yes, short run cost curves. Then simple reason is short run MC curve is U-shaped because the average, so the marginal product of labor curve is inverted U-shape. When marginal product of labor is rising, marginal cost is falling. When marginal product of labor is falling, variable factor is falling, marginal cost of production is rising. Marginal cost means cost of producing the last unit rising. Then we discuss the profit maximizing condition, how to apply. So at this point we do the diagram. The point where MR and MC curve intersect indicates the profit maximizing output. Profit maximizing output. Then we discuss the long run. In the long run, similar to this short run, we discuss the short run, long run average cost, long run marginal cost, because in the long run we don't have another average cost, we don't have average variable cost, we don't have fixed cost, therefore we don't have average fixed cost. Long run. And again, we want to explain why these long run cost curves U-shape. We introduce a new economic concept, return to scale, economies of scale, diseconomies of scale, right? So the return to scale, three types of return to scale: increasing, decreasing, constant. So the different companies can have different return to scale. Some given company can have all three, or given company can have only one. Falling average cost continuously. When they produce more and more output, average cost decreases. Economies of scale. Another company, average cost is rising from the beginning. That's why we said this return to scale is a company specific, firm specific concept. The firm specific concept. You can't draw a general diagram just to show this is the average cost of, this is the shape of the average cost of this company. But generally, when we analyze, you choose the U shape. In studying economics, we use the average cost. But think about, you have to remember that it is not the case for all the firms all the time, right? U shape average cost. Then we discuss, finally, we discuss why these output decision, long run output decision, the point where the MR and MC curve intersect indicate the profit maximum output left in the short run, right? Okay, this is the last slide. Now the next week we are going to discuss theory of markets. Theory of markets. Now up to now we discuss a firm, right? A firm. That is now what is a market? Market is collection of firms, large number of firms, sometimes large number of firms, sometimes very few firms. Now the distribution of the liquid petroleum gas, the LP gas. So the two companies dominate. Laufen is the other company, right? Two companies. Or the toothpaste industry market. Few companies dominate, Signal, the Klogard, Unilever, the Sudanta, and the Klogard, Close-Up. Very few companies dominate the market, share the market. Cigarette industry, market for cigarettes. Only one company, Ceylon Tobacco, dominates. Right? So therefore, in the theory of markets, you have different markets. Market is a collection of firms. They have different characteristics. So in this next lesson, we are going to discuss the different types of firms, type of markets. Some markets, only one firm, Ceylon Tobacco, produces the entire output and they supply this to the market. Paddy cultivation, again, around 3 to 4 million paddy farmers are there. 300,000, 400,000 paddy farmers are there in the country. Then 100,000, 3 lakhs to 4 lakhs paddy farmers are there. They produce paddy. Individually, you can consider there as a firm, right? Large number of firms at the extreme. That is also a market industry. In between, you have another market structures. Monopoly, Ceylon tobacco, monopoly. CB, monopoly, electricity industry, monopoly. One firm produces the entire market output. Then, other extreme, perfectly competitive market structure. Large number of firms. There are various assumptions. In this chapter, next we are going to discuss the perfectly competitive market structure. In between, you have different market structures. Oligopoly market structure. Few companies fight each other in that market. Now, for example, good example is a milling, paddy milling industry in Sri Lanka is a oligopolistic market structure. The millers are there. Most of these millers, they are famous people. Then the milling industry, they dominate the market. They take decision. Oligopoly market structure. Within the oligopoly market, another market called duopoly. Duopoly, only two firms dominate. Two firms. CPC and the IOC. The case of distribution of the fuel. CPC and IOC. Duopoly. So therefore, these are the market structures. Monopoly market structure, perfectly competitive market structure. In between, you have oligopoly market structure, duopoly market structure, another market structure, monopolistically competitive market structure. Always collection of firms. Some markets, you have only one firm, is pure monopoly, you have one firm, right? So that is, so next week we are going to discuss these market structures. Of these, first we defined market structures, clearly defined market structures, characteristic of market structures. After that, we will discuss. Take this competitive case, perfectly competitive market structure. Perfectly competitive market structure characteristics. Firm, how does a firm take decision in the competitive market structure? Then what is their profit in the short run, in the long run profits. Then after that, the monopoly market structure. Monopoly, and accordingly, monopolistically competitive market structure we will discuss next week. Okay, we will stop now. Thank you for listening to my lesson today. Please go through your the presentation and work out those examples given in this presentation. Write that. Understand the theory. If you have any question, please ask next week. I didn't understand. I couldn't go through this. I didn't understand this concept. Please explain. Or if you have any questions in doing this examples, homework exam, please ask me. Ask me next week. Then we'll stop. See you next week. Next week is when? Today is the 11th. That is 18th. 18th, yes. We'll see you on 18th, this Saturday at 10:30. Okay. Thank you.